My friends in between, are we having a good time at 90s Con? Amazing. As you may know, SAG-AFTRA, the union that represents many of our guests, is currently on strike against the major studios, networks, and streamers. 90s Con is proud to support SAG-AFTRA and its members in their efforts to secure a fair, equitable, and respectable contract. That's right. SAG-AFTRA has put together a set of guidelines that allow these guests to still participate in our event and others like it even during the strike. These guidelines require that members to steer away from discussing specific shows or characters by name and to avoid comments that might be seen as promoting projects that fall under the union strike order. The actors appearing at our show are encouraged to discuss other more general topics about their lives and work. We wish them great success in their strike endeavor, and we appreciate your understanding and support. And now, 90s Con, do me a favor, put together your hands and make some noise for your one and only moderator, Claire Kramer.
Welcome to 90s Con, guys! Are you guys having a good time? Yeah? Well, despite the strike, we are going to put on some incredible panels today. Some may say even better that we can't talk about specific shows or characters because guess what? We get to pry a little bit into everyone's lives, which is always fun, right? Are you guys excited? Please welcome to the stage the cast of Sabrina the Teenage Witch, starting with Big Bakay. Come on out, Nick. Nick. There he is. And Nate Richert. Come on out, Nate. Miss Jenna Leigh Green. Come on out, Jenna. And Beth Broderick. There she is. The beautiful Beth. Caroline Britton. Come on out, Caroline. And the one and only Melissa Joan Hart. Sabrina herself. The cast of Sabrina the Teenage Witch. Give it up for them, guys. Now, if you guys want, there are some stools back. You're the Ross.
Wait a minute. I don't think we're supposed to name characters, even though they're from other shows.
Well, then let's say, who's the flighty one? Who's the rounded one?
I think that would be Joey.
You know, the cat, if I may, is the scariest character in the show. And I'm in small part because I wrote it.
You wrote it down.
I would just like to explain that when we were, first of all, you're told as an actor, never work with children and animals. I was not listening. I thought they said only work with children and animals. Which was happily done. But when Nick used to be, when we were, I don't know what verbs to use, and when we were all together as a group with cameras, and Nick, you know, so there was the talking cat, which there were like 7 real cats. I love cats, by the way. I only fought with the puppet, and then 2 puppets. And I always said the puppet looked like an alcoholic rabbit with a herpes. And dubbed into a bad foreign film because it was like. Anyway.
Got better over
No, it got better because like everyone the cat got work. But anyway, it worked out. But so there was this Kathy Pittman, our trainer, or not our trainer, the animal trainer, but actually technically she was my trainer too. And so there was this like long spoon with tuna on the end, and then so to get the real cat to turn, they would click, and the cat would smell tuna and be like, right? And that was, and when the cat turned, I would say the entire first season, the cat and I both turned. I was trained within 2 days of the clicking sound. Completely trained, and then Nick, who is so hilarious, would be talking, and here's the cat, and here's Nick off stage, and this is the first 2 takes. They're like, look at the cat. I'm like, oh, okay, I'm sorry.
To this day, can you you smell tuna without turning your head?
Okay, that just sounds like the worst question ever. Correspondence and journalist award for you.
I was telling these guys backstage the picture I have of me with the cat here. It's from way back when the first season, it's the only publicity shot they ever took of me with a cat. But I got a proof sheet at home where it's me holding the cat. And look at me, it's no secret I enjoy my food. And there's one shot in that proof sheet of the tuna spoon, the infamous beeping tuna spoon, breaking the frame. And the cat and me going,
Classic. Please be tuna.
I think it's fair to say that Caroline and I were in the show that shall not be mentioned, utterly typecast.
Yeah, everyone's like, what?
We are literally those people. Like, in real life. Like, we spent 30 years with me going, Caroline.
You're not wearing that, are you?
You're not married then, are you?
She would do this to me. We'd be on our mark, and okay, so these are our marks, and I'd be like over here, and she'd just be like this. Like, or she would just do this one. But the best one was when we were doing this 22 minutes of camera work, and and it was, this bird was flying in because this Melissa decided to live in this, like, so anyway, we had to go look. I know you guys know this if you know the show, but anyway, we were going to look at this apartment, and there was a pigeon in the scene, and at the last minute, she just goes like this, switch places with me, and I'm such a youngest child, like, I'm like, whatever, and the pigeon comes, poops on me. I'm like, I go, the next take, I go, no, you stand over here. The next take, the pigeon finds me and poops in my head.
The well-trained pigeon.
Yeah.
But that does happen when you play a role for a certain period of time, right? You sort of meld into the character a little bit, and the character melds into you. Is that your experience?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, there was an episode. There was a segment where my microphone's like really echoey, huh? Where I was supposed to be in a bad mood. I think for that whole, and I was that week. I was in such a bad mood because I was this life going to take part. Life. What's going on here?
I mean, I would like to think that that person did not run off on me.
You say ew a lot. You actually texted it to me like 2 days ago.
But I was being funny.
Yeah, but was
Apparently, but not.
Okay, this is my shameless plug, but seriously, I was trying to figure out. Oh, my sister's calling. Let me get that. Okay. This is when I go on the road now. It's I identify as a witch because I seriously always thought when I was a kid that magical powers and whatever. Like it did all seem very like you're totally psychic. Like we have our. I don't know. I think we are quite close.
very into the zodiacs.
No, I'm not. Aries. No, I'm not. Aries, Pisces, Aries, Virgo, Libra, Taurus. I don't know.
Wait, do him.
Family show. Okay.
Family audience.
I remember like halfway through the first year that I knew Caroline, and we used to walk in a very similar direction towards a building where there were cameras.
Let's go towards that building. It looks fun.
Yeah, so we walk towards that building. And at one point she turns around to me and she goes, "Oh my God, you're a nerd." Did you just now realize this? You've known me 8 months. Just now?
No, her hat would say I identify as a nerd, for sure. But you're not, you're outer, you don't look like a
Yes,
nerd, but you're a huge nerd.
Yeah, big nerd.
Big nerd, big nerd.
Big nerd. Melissa, you literally, I feel like, grew up in front of the camera. Do you ever remember a time when you were not working or acting?
Around the time I had my first son, I didn't work for a year. 2006. 1980. Yeah, that's the only time I can.
And what
One
What was that little?
cookie.
Yeah.
Little window. It
What was that
like-
little window
It was
like?
quite lovely, but I was a little stir crazy, like now, like being like, when will I get back to doing what I do? You know, it's funny because I finished a show with a Lawrence brother, and you know, every other one that I had wrapped didn't really know that it was ending for sure, and it was that one when we knew it was ending, and I like really grieved that character, and I was like, oh, I'm never gonna get to play her again, and that was like a huge letdown of like, oh, I'm not gonna get to play that character again. But the other characters that I played didn't really know it was ending, so didn't really get that chance. So it was, I don't know, that was like the one time that I probably didn't want to go back to work because I was like, I don't get to play her again. Why would I want to go back to work unless I can have someone as fun as her?
And what is the process when you read
By
any
the way,
script?
sorry,
Yes?
you will be, you're like, you don't get to be that person again. I think it's the most fun. I was at Starbucks recently, and for some reason, they wrote on my little thing, Hilda, and I turned without question. I was like, so you are that character. That's the greatest thing about being lucky enough to be on an iconic show. We're gonna be those characters forever and ever and ever. We won't age.
Well, I just want she'll call and be like, what's up, little Niecy? How you doing? How's the witchy power? I'm like, no, that was, I know.
Oh, I introduce her as my sister all the time.
And it's appropriate.
Zeldar. That's what I called her. I was looking for your number and I'm like, how can I not have Beth's number? And then I'm like, Senator Zeldar.
So, not just with this show, but I mean, Jenna, you in particular, you've originated some great Broadway characters. You've yeah, she's amazing. So I'm just wondering, and you know, Melissa obviously lead of several shows. How do you approach when you originate a character? What is your approach as an actor?
I mean, hopefully every project you get the chance to work on has such an amazing base because of brilliant writers who've given you everything you possibly could want or need. It should be in the script, but I think everyone is you know, individual and personal in their approach to it. But the main difference, personally for me, between theater and doing a television project is that generally with a Broadway or off-Broadway piece, you have this really long rehearsal period. So it's almost as if you could find it with other people. You find it with your director, you find it with the writers, you find it within yourself, and you create this thing, and then once you've opened, you have this fleshed out thing that continues to get more fleshed out. With TV or film, a lot of, I've been cast the day before a project started. You never know. So it's like you're almost floundering. So sometimes you are cast in a way that just, it fits you so perfectly that honestly, if you're just honest and open your mouth and speak, it comes out and it feels appropriate. But
you created a fantastic character when all of us would be in the same building. She was so great because I rewatched it. I called Melissa when I rewatched it. I'm like, you were so good.
I saved that audio. I have that audio.
Because I hadn't watched it. My daughter was 7 and I watched it for the first time. And you guys it was great. And your characters were so defined.
I think that something that I figured out really early, actually in the audition process for the show that will not be named. I was having a conversation, it might have even been with my acting coach at the time, Ernie Lively, Blake Lively's father. We were working on, I think, the audition material, and he looked at me and he said, let's try some different things, just to make it interesting and unique. And it could, I'm not sure if I give the credit to him or me, because I don't remember who, but the comment came up, what if you said it with a smile? And that just kind of became my thing with Libby, is to, what if you said the meanest thing ever, but you just said it with a smile? And that was just kind of my thing, and I kept that the whole time, and I hope and think that it did work.
Now you can go into politics.
Exactly. I should have been a politician.
The first thing you said, Jenna, was the writing is your first indicator. So Nick, what do you do when you're creating things on the page? What is your process?
Well, in TV in particular, but even the movie stuff I've done, I mean, look, for me, whether it's writing about the occult, Or when I wrote about an overweight gentleman and his hot wife in a borough of New York. Or that same gentleman on a Segway in a mall. Or
I love that work.
Thank you. On CBS. And or upcoming show about Jenna Campbell. Anyway.
Oh, it's about a teaser.
But you know what? I came to writing. I didn't want to write.
Mm-hmm.
So I came at it. It wasn't when I was like, golly, I gotta write. I gotta write to pay the rent. And over time, I learned how to do it. But what's nice about it is that I didn't come into it with an ego. I came into it with a function. And I also came into it from a performance background and all the good shows. And you know, it starts with what you have here. And you have a blueprint with the pilot, and then you have to listen to what the show wants to be, and then you have to listen to what your actors do really well, and you carve to that. And then you've got magic. Seriously, that's how it's done. And if you know it's a fun exercise, shows you love, watch the first episode, and you're like, doesn't it look like you're like watching the show through a bizarre looking glass? You know, and there are people who aren't there anymore, right? And yeah, it's almost what it's going to be, but it's weird. You know, it's a dream version of it. That's because the good shows went, okay, oh wow, got that right, got that wrong, let's keep working. And you know, the essential element when you have wonderful, talented people is you dial in your actors, you dial in who they are, their strengths, and you write to them. And then you start to fly. And you know, one of the beautiful things about the show, other than meeting all these beautiful fans who love the show, which makes us feel so great, is that I get to see my beautiful friends who get so much fun. 7 years.
So much fun.
Yeah.
It's amazing. That's a good run, 7 years.
Yep.
We would laugh until we cried all our makeup off. They would have to take us back to their makeup and put it all back on, and they would say, please, you guys, and we would just be like,
I think we were enjoying ourselves as much as everybody was enjoying watching it, and I feel like that resonated like through the screen, like what we were enjoying was what other people enjoyed as well.
I think it's entirely believable. Like, I just think you believed we were your aunts, and those were the people in the cat talk. You believe it. I still believe it. Okay, there was an episode. Erin Kruger is a brilliant makeup artist. She's gone on to do American Horror Story, and she's one of Melissa's. She's the loveliest woman, and she was Melissa's makeup artist. And they had them. Our budget must have been crazy then, because Beth and I they put a smile spell on us. And they made these prosthetics where it looked like we had been burned in a fire, but they still had to pay our contracts. I mean, we were like melting. It was so horrific. We tried them on and we were like, you guys, it's a smiling thing. Could you not trust us to just go? Remember that?
yeah.
Then we cried with laughter so hard, all the makeup came off. It was like, go back to the makeup room, you cried all your makeup off.
It was also just a really wonderful group of human beings. That doesn't always happen. You know, we've all worked jobs, whether it be our type of job or your type of job. But, you know, a lot of times there's an asshole. There wasn't. Everybody was really good.
I was stretching everybody.
It was a beautiful group of human beings.
I love that. Well, that's why the show was so enjoyable to watch, right? So, Nick, we got your take on the process of writing scripted, but Caroline, I'm curious for stand-up.
Yes.
What is your sort of process? How do you workshop what you're going to do on stage?
Yeah, teach me, because she's about to.
I'm about to, no, she's gonna go on, we're doing a show together. And then
Oh my
we're gonna
gosh.
turn her on too.
I love that.
Of stand-up. You can do it. I've heard you rant and rave. Don't be afraid.
I can talk, that's for sure.
What do I
don't
do?
know that it makes any sense.
I literally adore my daughter so much, but it's like having a professional writer in the house. This is how I describe my child. Having a 14-year-old daughter and being a stand-up comedian, it feels like the heckler followed me home from the club. It's like, you're not gonna wear that, are you? Or I came in the other day and she goes, oh my God, what happened to your face? So I rushed in the mirror and I go, nothing. Okay. That's how, I drew myself up. Anyway, she goes, with your eyebrows like that? I go, honey, I overplucked in the 90s. They're never coming back, okay? And then she goes, well, mommy, when I look at people's eyebrows, I'm either happy or disgusted. And I go, you're disgusted when you look at my eyebrows? And she just goes like this, I'm not happy. So all I have to do is really, it's just repeat and record. That's about all I can do.
And how did you convince Melissa to give stand-up a shot?
Well, she's very funny, and she's very funny, and I said, Melissa's got a great voice, and she uses it. She's the voice of reason, and she's brave, and she talks about everything, and she's hilarious when she's on one of her rants, so. Well, no, I mean, you're hilarious.
I do rant, that's
She rants. And so I wanted to go do a show in Nashville, and I was like, for Halloween, and I'm like, so I'm gonna teach her. I love teaching people how to do stand-up. I mean, if you're funny, I can teach you. My first job, I had to teach head of corporations how to be funny. They're not funny. Like, knock, who's there? I'm like, let's try it again. Okay. So close, getting so much better. Just use the doorbell this time, okay?
I did do stand-up one time out in LA, and I didn't know I was doing it. I got on stage.
Hit the audience.
It was like an audience. It was at the Laugh Factory, and it was like I think I was being interviewed by Kevin Nealon, and they were like, you get 10 minutes to do a set before you go on the interview, and I was like, what? And they were like, do you want to do it? And I was like, David Spade, David Carvey are there, Whitney Cummings is there, and I was like, yeah, I'm gonna do that actually. I'm gonna do that. And I go out there and I have a microphone in one hand and a beer in the other. I've never had either of these things in my hands before. Like I don't work with a microphone and I don't drink beer. So
Do you
out
talk
there,
with beer? That's what most people do. That
I
are not
downed a little beer just to like get some, nerves. And I went out there and I was gonna tell everyone like, look how nervous I am. I'm sweating. And you can Google this. I dumped beer on my head and there's a photo of it. And I'm just like, look, I'm sweating, you guys. And literally, then David Carvey gets on stage and goes, we just saw Melissa Joan Hart dump beer on her head, guys. And then I think the next day, Perez Holden wrote a thing about, look how far Melissa will go for comedy. I was like, yeah, totally. Because I knew not to move the microphone, but I'm not used to a beer.
Okay, now we have your opening 5 minutes. Thank you very much. Yes. Please use it, okay? You're her first test audience of stand-up. Beth did a show for how many years? 14 years? Your Christmas show.
Oh yeah, my Christmas show. I still do. It's a great gift for women in the shelter for battered women and children. And this will be the 35th year that my friends and I will.
She has this beautiful, you get an assembly line, and she tells you what you're doing, and then she has the most beautiful, personal hygiene, everything that you possibly need, and she prepares them, and she used to sing. So she sings really beautifully, so it's not just stand-up.
We used to do a lot of shows, and Nick was performed in them, and I don't know if you guys know, but Nate is a really wonderful musician.
I was just going to ask him about that.
We sang Walking in Our Winter Underwear.
Yeah, walking around in winter wonderland, but they had to sing, walking around in winter underwear, women's underwear. Yeah.
What was the chorus of that?
Oh, it was women's underwear.
Women's underwear.
Women's underwear.
Yeah, so I had a chorus of guys singing, that. And we did things like crazy stuff like, good King Wenceslas looked down on anyone from Cleveland. We just made up crazy stuff. It was very fun.
But what inspired you to start that charity, that organization?
I'll try to make it as short as I can. I was in a parking lot of a Music Plus, which is, most of you are too young to know what that was, but it was a store that sold records, okay, like physical records.
And the parking lot is where the cars park.
And so I see this van, and I see this woman's face, and I think something's wrong. Just something inside me goes, something's wrong. So I come out of the store later, and it's still there, so I just knock. And this woman has been beaten. She's really in bad shape. She's got 3 kids in the back. And I'm like, that's it, you're coming with me. So we take her, we get the kids bathed, and we get everybody fed, and then I started calling city systems, where can I get these people in? It was right before Christmas. And I called this one place, the Good Shepherd Home, And this nun was like, oh, the other woman, I never worked for anybody else. I was like, Sister Joan, you don't know me, but if you get these people in before Christmas, I'll be yours for life. And she did. We got them in on Christmas Eve. And I said, whatever you need, I'm here for you forever. So that's how that started.
That's amazing. That's really wonderful. I love that. Okay, Nate, down there at the end, way down there. Let's talk about your music. Yeah, you don't need to be sitting on it. You're talking to it. Talk about your music. What's going on with you?
You know, when you are working on one of those things where the light box,
Yeah.
you know, you have to wait sometimes. And so I would bring a guitar in and wait with my guitar. And Martin Hall, Mr. Kraft, shared our trailers were right next to each other, and he heard me playing one day, and so he brought his guitar in, and we spent a lot of time playing together, and I started writing songs, and it's just so much fun. And doing it, I started trying to get him out there. I got into a cheese commercial. Can I say that? I think that's Unstruck.
I think you're okay.
Yeah, Unstruck is the commercial, right? Yeah. And it just happened to be my favorite cheese, which is an Irish Dubliner. And that is my claim to fame.
That was your entry point?
Music.
Yeah, music. The origin story, the cheese story.
And now everyone knows your favorite cheese. That's the best part of the story.
I bet you're gonna go to lunch.
One day I got a call from the mailbox, and I went down and they said there's something perishable. So I went and opened the box. There's this little styrofoam cooler, and it had an array of their stuff, and I thought, they could have got away just sending me one of these. They wouldn't have had to cut me a check or anything.
I just want you to know,
One of these a month, I would have been happy.
Nick's hat says, I will work for cheese.
Any day.
Can I ask a question?
Including today.
Interpreter, which is he's doing such a beautiful job, and with the answer, could you do the word for witches, please? I want to know what it is. What? Are you serious? That is so making an assumption.
And now maybe see cat.
Oh!
That's adorable.
Cat's adorable.
Yes, it is.
That's a little...
You have to tell
Cat wins.
Caroline, you have to tell them about the time that they dressed us up.
No, please. Okay. Yeah, of course you love this story. I wonder why. It was when we were all together in the 90s, and we were at the Magic Castle, which is, like this really cool, slightly creepy, scary place in LA. But it's where all the magicians perform. Okay. So we were doing a photo shoot there, and we were dressed as like iconic characters. We were shooting several. Okay. So they're like, they see Beth and like, Beth, you're going to be the good witch, like Glinda. And she's like, literally looks like so beautiful and like this radiant, like goddess.
Like sparkle.
And you're going to be the witch, okay? There's like so much green paint on me, and I literally green paint, just like,
I'm like, oh my god.
oh no. And then
she's like completely green.
and with like the wart nose.
And let me tell you, green paint is not easy to get off.
No, it's not. Yeah, exactly, she knows.
I didn't write that one.
We're sitting in the trailer, and it's 1,000 degrees, and I'm like, talking about resting witch face. It is like, I'm so mad. And I'm like in green, and I'm also in like hot, like boiling, like burlap black suit. She's like, Beth, you're in a delightful little dress. Whatever, anyway. And then they come in and they go, yeah, we don't have time for you guys. We're not going to shoot you. And I'm like, and I get back to this day. She's just like, tell me that story.
Remember when you were green?
You're green and
What big warts everywhere?
I'm sure there's one somewhere in that.
That was the pre-digital age where you didn't always have a camera on you.
I have the best pictures. I was going to bring them this time and I forgot. They're of Melissa, which she's directing. It's really beautiful. And then about 75 pictures of Melissa asleep.
That was the thing.
Tell them.
So I didn't do a lot of partying in my normal, that college phase you go through. It was when so first of all, I was never a teenager playing a teenage witch, so I was 20. And I would like to go out at night sometimes. We would go hit some clubs, do some dancing, very responsibly, and get home in time to get to work at 5
You
a.m.
were a very responsible dancer. I remember that.
But I would go to work and there's a lot of downtime, and I would like Nate was saying, I would fall asleep on set, and I'm very good. I consider it one of my talents that I can sleep. So I would
Sleep
just fall
anywhere,
asleep anywhere.
anytime.
I leaned against a horse and I fell asleep. I swear, in one of the episodes. And we had Polaroid cameras on the set because everyone had to keep track of the continuity. So wardrobe needed it, our script supervisor needed it, everybody. So the grips, the camera guys, they would all pick up the Polaroids and take a picture every time I fell asleep. I'd be asleep across 2 chairs or a table or on the floor, always wrapped up in a big, because it was freezing.
She's been working since 1980. She's very tired.
So every season, the cinematographer would give me a scrapbook of all of my sleeping. It's a talent.
You know what? That would be a very good coffee table. People would buy that. They would.
Oh,
You know what? You can have your
Would
own.
you guys buy that?
Look, if anybody was on the Nashville to Tampa flight Southwest yesterday, you probably saw a little drool.
Yeah, I've flown internationally with her, and she's literally sideways with a mask on.
And on the flip side, I cannot nap at all. Never been a napper, not even as a little one. I cannot nap.
Once you get to baby, you can sleep anywhere at any time. You can sleep while breastfeeding. Your dog has to. Yeah, exactly.
Well, we only have a couple minutes left, so I'd like to sort of round out this panel about this show that we're not talking about by having each of you give sort of a one-word description of what the experience, the 7 years, was like for you. You know, if you had to encapsulate that in 1 or 2 words, what would it be?
Life-changing.
Yeah. And I'd like to actually extend that to about 25 years, because when you start something like that, you never expect that it could possibly have this much resonance for this long. So I would say privilege.
I would say time of my life.
Growth. We grew up on it.
And that's what you guys always say.
Okay, but if one more person comes up to me and tells me that they grew up on this show and in their 50s, I'm gonna slap them. I can't. If you're under a certain age, I get it. But when you're close to my age, no, you did not.
But I really do feel that we actually grew up as human beings on that show.
I was old when I got there. But for me, the first word that popped into my head when you asked the question was security. It was the first gig I had where I knew what I was doing a year later. And that was life-changing. When my wife and I didn't have those terrifying kitchen table talks, so that was beautiful. Not to mention the beautiful people.
Barbie?
Candy store. I was a kid in a candy store.
I love that.
Everyone that I got to work with was so incredible. People I grew up watching. We had the cast of Cheers. Barbara Eden was whispering dirty jokes in my ear. And of course, some of these people were amazing to be around.
I'm just sorry, I gotta jump in. Season 1, I wrote an episode that Raquel Welch was in.
Oh my
God, I
God.
love her, we lost her. And for a guy my generation, I had a little bit of a wobbling, and I couldn't believe it. And there was one moment at the end of that week where she turned to me and she said, "Any notes?" Still not over it.
And I do want to say this. A lot of the boy bands that you are all here spending time with, they started out on our show.
Beyonce? Are you familiar with? I don't know what I was backstage at the Country Music Awards, or I was backstage at the AMAs. American Music Awards. What's you're not supposed to say that? And then just letters. Anyway, Beyonce came up to me and she called me Miss Caroline. And then she said, "I love that show so much." And I said, "Well, you should come on it." She's like, "Would you let us come on that show? Would you like write a part for us?" And yeah.
Kelly Clarkson came up to me. I went to the finale of the original, the first season of American Idol, and Kelly Clarkson came up to me and said, oh my god, I was an extra extra on the first season.
And she was an extra 3 times.
She was an extra on Sabrina, and she was like so excited to come talk to me. I was like, no, you just want this whole thing.
I got to tap dance with Dick Van Dyke, and like, yeah.
You said
Johnny
you did it,
Mathis.
you're so busy, you barely
I
remember
don't remember
that.
it.
I remember
I
us
don't
sitting
remember.
there during like a break and Johnny Mathis just singing
Christmas
songs.
songs.
We were like,
Oh my God.
Oh,
That's right.
the Monkees. I was a big Monkees fan.
Way to go.
And they
Davy Jones hit on.
He was so tiny, and of course he goes, oh, you're so big. I just have to climb you.
You guys really created an amazing show, and I think that this shows how much camaraderie and friendship and love there is between you, and that's part of what made it so enjoyable. Thank you guys so much.